Good afternoon, everybody, and I want to formally wish everybody a happy new year. And last year was truly a difficult year for all of us, but this year I pray that everything goes our way and we are able to make the huge milestones we had planned towards climate change mitigation. So, to begin us off, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Jackson Kinyanjui. I am the founder of Climate Change Kenya, and I'm also the current country coordinator for Kenya on behalf of Climate Reality Project. And on top of that, I am also the Nakuru County Youth Environmental Award winner. So today, to start us off, I'd like us to look into this topic of the power of electing leaders with climate change plans. And the point I've put across is that time has come for us to vote for climate conscious leaders. The reason being that most of these policies and legislations that have been made, they have been made by these leaders that we have voted in. And if we don't make the right choice, the case scenario being when Donald Trump took over office, he actually went and took USA a few steps behind and went a step further by removing them from the Paris Agreement. This all because the leaders we voted in had vested interest, and some of them had received this black money, as it is being termed, to finance their campaign from the fossil fuel interested bodies. So let me jump straight into the topic of today and let us discuss a few critical areas. So the first one I'll be looking into is Kenya. In Kenya, we have been having the back and forth movement between the climate deniers, the climate change deniers, and those who actually recognize that climate change is here with us and we need to do something with that. I have actually assembled two quotes here from the very many politicians we have that we elected in Kenya. And one of them is the former health minister and Bureti MP Paul Sang. His famous quote was, "Forests do not bring rain. Rain brings forests." In essence, he was trying to tell the people that deforestation is okay, encroaching into these water towers is okay, and trees don't serve any importance when it comes to ensuring that it helps to clean our air in terms of carbon sequestration and maintaining the hydrological cycle. This was his direction. And something needs to be looked into that. The other appointed or elected politician is Honorable Sabina Wanjiru Chege, and from his Twitter handle, you can read out what she had said, that I have for a long period of time been concerned by the forests that were being put up by the Kenya Tea Development Authority around Gitwamba area. This afternoon, I had a meeting with the Kenya Tea Development Authority officials concerning the issue of these forests. We have agreed now that they have harvested their trees. They will not plant the trees again in the farm. The villagers have had concern of insecurity and extreme cold spells due to forests. So she's trying to justify her actions of encouraging the locals or the local people around to engage in deforestation. The reason being that the trees cause the area to have too much cold and to have a high level of insecurity. This is not true, and this is the power of electing leaders that are not climate change conscious. We have the science, they are not ready to embrace the science, or they don't have the science technicality within them. The next aspect we shall be looking at is what are some of the climate change tweets that have been made by one famously Donald Trump from his Twitter handles. And one of the tweets, some of the tweets that he had occasionally been able to make are the concepts of global warming were created by the Chinese in order to make US manufacturing non-competitive. This is not true. The other one is, it is snowing and freezing in New York City. What the hell ever happened to global warming? He is a climate change denier, and having such a leader to lead a nation, and yet he does not believe in climate change, is a catastrophic kind of scenario. And this is what actually led him into pulling out USA out of the Paris Agreement. Putting in mind that USA is among the top 5 polluters in the world. The other tweets, you can see them there. Give me a clean, beautiful, and healthy air, not the same old climate change bullshit. I am tired of hearing this nonsense. Climate change is a hoax. So in reality, these are some of the, let me say, cancer penetrating kind of tweets. And these tweets have created a scenario whereby people are now believing that climate change is not a reality. I wish to urge everyone out there and those listening to me that we need to embrace climate change. We need to take notice of this menace that we have, which is known as climate change. And if something is not done, then we shall surely pay the price. The other tweet, the other statement that is taking us a million steps behind is that when you look at this chart in front of you, it's touching more on the state of climate 200 years ago. This is something that the climate change deniers cannot overlook. Since the 1860s up to 2020, the global average surface temperatures have been increasing, and the huge increase was seen after the 1900s. This was after the first industrial revolution, when man realized fossil fuels can be a source of energy. But later on, they realized that it was not a source of clean energy. The ozone layer depletion has also been taking place. The ozone layer has been depleting at a staggering rate from 1979 to 2019, but there has been noted some remarkable kind of improvement in terms of the ozone layer repairing itself. This has not come on a silver platter. This has come after nations have recognized that we need to move towards the green energy, the renewable energy, and a low carbon kind of economy. This is only possible if we only elect leaders who have embraced climate change and will be able to enforce and to sign in laws that will actually improve and curtail the organizations that aim at polluting our atmosphere. Some of the hottest years on record since the time that temperatures were started to be recorded on Earth, 16 of the top 17 have occurred since the year 2000. This is surely a wake-up call. This is surely proof that climate change is real and we need to act now. We need to have foot soldiers as much as we need to have elected leaders up in the boardrooms, up in the legislature, who actually work towards ensuring we have laws that have been passed to protect our environment. This will not be possible if we only work towards ensuring we have increased our tree cover and the rest, but we don't have laws that protect those trees. We don't have laws that protect our atmosphere from pollution. And the people who are mandated with ensuring we have these laws that are working are the elected leaders. Wildfires, these are some of the catastrophic events that have been taking place since the temperatures started skyrocketing, putting in mind that 16 out of the 17 hottest temperatures on Earth, they have all occurred after the year 2000. Floods have also been a case point, and all these are evidences that if we don't elect leaders who are not out there to enrich themselves, who are not there to benefit from the black money which comes from the fossil fuel companies, then we are in for a rude shock. Drought has been another catastrophic event due to climate change. In Africa, in USA, they have all experienced a certain level of drought, which has led to its fair share of loss in terms of crops, in terms of animals, water. So yes, we need to act, but now we are changing the tactic. We need to act by ensuring we vote in and we elect climate conscious leaders. This journey of ensuring that all these climate conscious leaders were put together started way back in 1992 and way before. And it was only in 2015, during the COP21 Paris Agreement, that over 197 leaders, elected leaders, were able to agree and to sign the Paris Agreement. This was not an easy job, putting in mind that out of all these leaders, some of them were climate deniers. But it seems that they were actually moved towards the side of the climate believers, and that's why they signed the Paris Agreement. In Kenya, we have had our fair share of leaders, and more specifically, the presidents we have had over the years. The first president we have had in Kenya was Jomo Kenyatta. He ruled between 1964 and 1978. Daniel Arap Moi took over from 1978 to 2002. Mwai Kibaki took over from 2002 to 2013. And finally, the current president who is due to retire in 2022 is Uhuru Kenyatta. The reason why I've concentrated on the presidents that have actually been able or have been at the helm of leadership in Kenya is because they're the ones who actually sign the final amendments that give the push towards environmental and climate change awareness and protection. Let us look at the scorecards of these Kenyan presidents When you start with the treaties and agreements that have been signed over the years, the first president, Jomo Kenyatta, we have given him an F. Daniel Arap Moi an F. Mwai Kibaki a B, because he was more aware of the environment and the essence of protecting the environment. Uhuru Kenyatta has been given an A- since in 2015, during his time as a president, is when Kenya actually signed the Paris Agreement. In terms of forest management, during the time of Jomo Kenyatta and Daniel Moi, deforestation rates increased rapidly. It was estimated that the tree cover percentage of Kenya after the independence was handed over, or the country was handed over to Jomo Kenyatta, the country had an average tree cover of more than 20%. It reduced drastically, and Uhuru Kenyatta is now trying to recover that, and which is part of the NDCs, and which is also part of the bond challenge, where Kenya, under the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta, has set aside 5.1 million hectares of land to be planted with trees, so as to ensure we have the minimum 10% forest cover. The other one is renewable energies. At least we have given Jomo Kenyatta a D, Daniel Arap Moi a C, Moi Kibaki a C, but Uhuru has been given a B since the tax reduction on solar panels and the rest has been done during his leadership, but there has been seen a backward trend from the solar industry, with a push being given by those who feel as if they are losing out when Kenyans are embracing the solar appliances and structures. Plastic ban, the last one, Uhuru got an A-, since during his leadership is when Kenya actually ratified and signed the plastic ban. Fossil fuel, Uhuru Kenyatta has been given a D, with his counterparts an F, since during his leadership, as much as you're saying fossil fuel is, we're trying to cut it down in Kenya, but there was a push to erect a coal and mining industry in Mombasa, which is actually moving back to the fossil fuel age. Kenya's changing forest cover. As I said earlier, in the 1963, the forest cover was 10% and over. This was during the leadership of Jomo Kenyatta. It drastically reduced up to the 1990s, when Daniel Arap Moi was the president, and the tree cover reduced to almost 2%. But during the leadership of Mwai Kibaki moving to Uhuru Kenyatta, the tree cover percentage has been increasing from 6% to 7%, and roughly now we are aiming to reach 10% by 2022. Which are some of the three arms of government in Kenya? And this brings me back to the power of electing leaders that are climate change conscious. Electing leaders that understand climate change. When we elect leaders into the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. They are elected or appointed by the president. But in the legislature is where the laws are actually formulated, they are passed, and they are signed by the executive. The function of the executive is to ensure these laws are actually put in place. The right mechanisms are there, and the judiciary is there to enforce and to ensure these laws are abided to. So the legislature is the most important, and this is where we have the power of the vote. The type of leader you elect will determine whether your climate change issues will be addressed or not. If your leader is not climate change conscious, then you have no reason to vote that person in. All the leaders that are looking for elective posts should be able to give us their climate change policy or manifestos and what they intend to do in terms of environmental conservation and climate change awareness and protection during their term. Climate change has been regarded as the 21st century tragedy. Climate change has created more climate change refugees than any other disease. So yes, we need to act, and we need to act by electing and using the power of our votes in any election, be it now or be it in the future. In Kenya, I have categorized the number of elected and nominated leaders in Kenya, and this is the staggering number that we have. The number of leaders that we have in Kenya, there are almost 2,500 leaders in Kenya to serve a population of 47 million. So yes, we must look at them with a myopic or a microscopic kind of eye in terms of electing them. The county assembly elected leaders are 2,222. That is the elected and the nominated together. We are having 349 in the National Assembly, 47 in the Senate, 47 deputy governors, and 47 governors. Not putting in mind, we have the president and the deputy president. Most of these laws are enacted within the county assembly and the National Assembly, and also in the Senate. This is the legislature, and this is where we have the power of the vote. Areas of environmental and climate change politics. Which are some of the areas that bring about politics into climate change? These areas are: one, global issues. These are areas where we have a friction most of the time between the activists and the politicians we have elected on matters global issues. That is climate change, the ozone layer, and global commons. Transnational issues, that is transcending borders in terms of acid rain, biodiversity, rainforest, river pollution. And this is where now we need the protection from the Land Commission to protect our natural resources from these greedy politicians whom we elect without them having a climate conscious kind of approach. Fundamental conflict between global environment and the state system, global commons, shared natural resources, transnational externalities, atmosphere, biodiversity, issues on animal and plant life, pollution, issues on acidic rain and toxic exports. In USA, the legislature has been having a rough time. The Republicans and the Democrats, the Republicans, most of them, and even the Democrats, those who are climate change deniers, have been found to be benefiting from this so-called black money coming from the fossil fuel companies controlling the politicians. And the top 5 fossil fuel companies that are actually investing more into controlling the legislature are as seen in front of you. That is BP, we have Shell, we have Exxon Mobil, Total, and yes, and Chevron. These companies, among the many, have been pumping millions and billions of money And with that money, they have been funding campaigns of most of these legislatures. If these companies are able to put a person who can actually fight for their interest towards them using the fossil fuels, why can't we do the same? Why can't we ensure that we have a leader, we have an elected leader who will fight for our plight? Also, on the same, these companies are still betting on fossil fuels. They speak with one tongue and a different story from the other. ExxonMobil has invested heavily with over 167 billion, with a huge chunk being invested in oil fields and a small chunk on gas fields. So all these fossil fuel companies that are still investing more on oil fields than on gas fields. So yes, they're not ready to shift from the fossil fuel dangerous kind of economy and ensuring that we have a low carbon economy in the future. The top fossil fuel companies scorecard. Over the years, BP has scored poorly, Chevron poorly. It's only Shell that has been able to score fairly in terms of embracing the climate policies or climate responsibility standards, and they are moving and they have shown their passion in moving towards a green and a renewable kind of energy production, be it solar, be it wind. In one of the Washington Posts, it was written that are Republicans coming out of the closet on climate change? This was a reflection on the manner in which these Republicans who have been opposed on matters climate change, they have been propagating the fossil fuel kind of economy, they are moving away. Since they have also recognized that climate change is real, and they have stopped receiving funds from these climate change deniers, making them slaves of their masters. Another post read, The Big Oil's Real Agenda on Climate Change. How the oil major corporations have spent $1 billion since the Paris Agreement on narrative capture and lobbying on climate change. Yes, the climate change or the fossil fuel companies, they have invested heavily on propagating the theory that climate change is not real, and this took effect on a high gear after the Paris Agreement, which was signed on 2015. Some of the companies which have actually worked towards ensuring that climate change will not take its drastic turn for the worst are Coca-Cola, the Bank of America, Google, Walmart, Pepsi, Apple, Microsoft, and many more companies that have the will to shift towards a green and a renewable source of energy as opposed to this dangerous fossil fuel, carbon emitting kind of energy. The history of climate change politics has been wide. Since 1969, during the era of Richard Nixon, he realized the essence of environmental conservation and climate change. The journey has been long, with climate deniers coming up, but since 1969 up to the era of George W. Bush and up to the Paris Agreement, which was signed, the journey has been long. So USA has been in the efforts of ensuring that climate change and environmental conservation has been put in the forefront, but The change of leadership has had a devastating effect, putting in mind that once you elect a leader who does not understand and who is a climate change denier, then be sure that all these milestones will be brought down. And this is the case scenario you have seen with Donald Trump. In 2017, 1st June, President Donald Trump withdrew from the United States from the Paris Agreement. From this tree, you can see all countries are participating in the Paris Agreement, but USA was pulled up by Donald Trump in 2017, that is in 1st June. Some of the top 5 reasons why Donald Trump aimed at removing USA from this treaty was that it's a bad for the economy, to lead to loss of jobs, which are all lies. That China and India don't have to reduce emissions, so why does USA have to do that? This was part of the agreement where developing countries were to reduce the emissions more than the developed countries were to reduce the emissions more than the developing countries. China and India fell into the developing bracket, but now China and India are leading in the green renewable energy as much as they are the developing countries. He also took a jab at the Paris Agreement, saying that it will not help climate change. Some of the steps Trump took towards ensuring that America or USA pulled out of its so many signed policies were: 1, he eliminated major methane rules set by Obama. He also ensured that the August 2020 Trump administration announced plans to start drilling in the Arctic. His administration scaled back over 150 plus environmental measures set by the Obama administration. What does the Biden win pledges towards climate change? What does Biden win mean to us? And that's why I'm saying the power of voting a leader who's climate change conscious. And that is what Americans voted, why they voted for Biden. He was a climate change conscious leader, and they didn't want to move the path to follow that direction in which Trump was taking them. 1, one of his pledges is requiring aggressive methane pollution limits. That is what Trump retrogressively did. So he's trying to return USA to where it was. Ensuring that all US government installations, building facilities are more efficient and climate ready. The other one is reducing greenhouse gas emissions from transportation. The other pledge is doubling down on liquid fuel for the future, advancing biofuels, saving consumers money, and reducing emissions. Committing that every federal infrastructure investment should reduce climate pollution. All these are positive efforts towards ensuring that climate change is curtailed and temperatures don't increase above the stipulated 1.5 degrees centigrade. This is the power of electing a leader who is climate change conscious and who understands the essence of protecting the environment. In this list, which is a 2020 list, it has categorized some of the top 11 countries which are actually leading in terms of green renewable energy. And these countries, I'm happy to say that Kenya is among them. The only African country among the many which is leading in terms of green renewable energy shift. Sweden is leading, Costa Rica is second. We have Denmark as number 7, Kenya as number 11. Yes, this is the path we need to see others following to ensure that we have a future to look forward to. The human-driven climate change deniers. Which are some of the nations that have the largest climate change deniers in the world? The first one is Indonesia with more than 18%. Saudi Arabia with more than 15%. United States with more than 12%. Mexico and Britain as the least. And something to note is that United States, the climate change deniers are reducing. They are at 12%. And we expect that number to go as minimal as possible. Which are some of the top 10 countries by solar energy? Some of the top 10 countries in terms of solar energy as at the 2020 kind of scenario is that the leading one is China, followed by United States, followed by Japan, Germany, India, Italy, United Kingdom, Spain, Australia, and France. So yes, China is leading, putting in mind that China is a developing country. They are not mandated to reduce or to embrace this green energy as much as the developed countries, but they have taken up the challenge, putting in mind that they fall within the top 5 world polluters. Top 10 countries leading in wind power. In terms of wind power, China is also leading. United States is second, Germany, Spain, India, and finally we are having Turkey. Yes, this is a good effort, a good milestone, putting in mind that some of the top 5 world polluters are within this list of countries that have actually embraced wind energy and solar energy. So that marks the end of this live webinar. But something that I need to put across is that leadership entails us as the followers, us as the voters, that we elect a leader who is climate change conscious. The loss of not participating in politics is that you'll end up being governed by a leader who is inferior than you in terms of understanding matters of climate change and what needs to be done. In Kenya right now, we're within an atmosphere of election with various leaders coming up, and none of the leaders has shown interest or has come up with a policy that has climate change or climate change policy within their agenda. This time we are going to vote wisely as the youths. We are going to ensure that our vote is counted, but the vote will be counted where it counts and where it matters. If a leader is not climate conscious, if a leader does not have policies that are aimed at protecting the environment, then you have no business of electing these leaders. The same old stories of these leaders will give us roads, free schools, access to water, access to electricity. These are the same old songs. We want leaders with policies that are geared towards environmental protection, that are geared towards climate change, awareness, and improvement. And they need to tell us what amount of money are they willing to set aside so that it can help in this fight against climate change and environmental conservation. We need leaders that are not tainted in terms of environment, that are not corrupted and coerced by these fossil fuel companies, and they need to tell us where they are getting their financial money or their campaign money, so that we know whether they're getting the fundings from these fossil fuel companies. That will categorically tell us that this person cannot be able to fight for our rights. And if push comes to shove, then we'll have no other choice but to elect a leader among ourselves, the climate change leaders, who will be able to represent us in the legislature and even in the executive, so that our policies are implemented, our policies are reinforced to ensure that the environment is protected. Continue sending your comments. You can see them in your chats. Continue also sending your questions. I'll be able to answer them on an individual level. Before I wind up, please do remember to contact us using the call number, so that you can be able to organize for workshops and climate consultancy services for your institution and build up capacities for your institutions on the same. Do visit our website. It's on the screen there. Do visit our Twitter page, our Facebook page for more information. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, so that we can keep the discussion ongoing on what we need to do in terms of ensuring we elect leaders that are climate conscious. The time for change is now. And my parting shot is that we don't need for the leaders to prepare the future for us, the youths. We need those leaders to prepare us as the youths for the future. You can never know what's coming, but you can prepare for what is to come. Thank you for listening, and please do remember to subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much, and goodbye.